President Trump signing an executive order to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve, but cryptocurrencies falling as traders seem disappointed with some of the details. In a post on X, the White House crypto czar, David Sacks, saying the reserve will be funded exclusively with Bitcoin seized in criminal and civil forfeiture cases. He also said no Bitcoin will be sold from the reserve. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent had this to say about the reserve just a short time ago right here on Squawk Box.
I am a big proponent of the U.S. taking the worldwide lead in crypto. I think we have to bring it onshore and use our best practices and regulation. I think that the Bitcoin reserve, before you can accumulate it, you have to stop selling it. We're starting with Bitcoin, but it's an overall crypto reserve.
Right. Today, the White House hosting a digital asset summit. Attendees include Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong, Strategy CEO Michael Saylor, Gemini co-founders Tyler and Cameron Winklevoss, and our next guest as well. Joining us right here first on CNBC is Robinhood's co-founder and CEO Vlad Tenev. Good morning to you. There was a lot of debate about this beforehand from the crypto community, also the tech community, when it was first floated that there would be a Bitcoin reserve. And then just last week, this idea that other coins would be involved and that there was sort of a backlash to some of it. Now there's a different kind of backlash this morning saying maybe they didn't go far enough. What do you think?
Hey, Andrew, good to be here. I actually think this is a sensible approach by the administration. I think that, you know, there's a lot of debate. Obviously, there's some people in the industry that maybe wanted more or different assets. But I think this is an approach that isn't terribly controversial. It's a good place to start. And there's a lot of things that we need to get done. I agree with Secretary Bessent that the U.S. needs to be a leader in this new burgeoning industry. And, you know, there's stable coin that needs to be figured out, market structure, prediction markets. So I think as an industry, we have to join together, be united, and keep pushing to make the U.S. #1 in this industry.
Vlad, do you believe ultimately that the U.S. government and therefore U.S. taxpayers should be investing in and, let's be honest, levering themselves up to buy additional Bitcoin?
I think that the U.S. Has to make a determination about why it needs various cryptocurrencies and whether it needs them strategically. So I think that having some clarity on what happens in these cases where there's forfeiture or the U.S. Government somehow obtains it and whether, you know, they're selling it or holding it, that clarity is actually useful to the market because you've seen in cases like that that the uncertainty causes fear. So I think this is a good place to start. Now, how far it goes, I have sort of less of a strong opinion. I know others. There are other experts at the summit on Bitcoin strategic acquisition and other things.
I have two related questions. One is, this is an executive order, and I wish I'd actually had the opportunity to ask the Treasury Secretary this. Do you consider this an emergency?
I'm not sure. I mean, I think that there's various definitions of what constitutes an emergency. But what's clear is the U.S. and this administration is taking crypto leadership seriously and acting with a great sense of urgency. And I think this summit that they're holding today at the White House is a great example of that. I mean, certainly the administration's moving fast, government's moving fast, but I think rapid change is necessary if we're going to maintain U.S. leadership in what's an increasingly uncertain world.
Well, to be honest, we unfortunately switched topics at one point.
And then
from that,
I wanted at the very end, you had the last two when they were jumping up and down.
There were a couple other things that I was hoping to.
Hey, Vlad, you seem. I mean, some people think all companies should have a treasury filled with Bitcoin. Could you ever see that being something that the United States would be, and it would probably be taxpayer money, but if it's going to 1 million, wouldn't that help in a lot of different ways for Treasury to have that reserve?
Well, I think that you get into the general question of should the U.S. be investing its money once you expand beyond Bitcoin into all sorts of other assets and potentially securities. And many countries have a sovereign wealth.
They buy gold.
Many countries have a sovereign wealth fund, which we're also instituting. So I don't think that's an unreasonable approach.
Right. Hey, Vlad, not only are we potentially buying Bitcoin in the future, but these other coins as well. And I'm curious how you think about that. I'm also curious how you think about the fact that so many members of the administration are invested in crypto themselves, and that inherent conflict that I think is very visible to those who want to see it.
Well, from what I've seen, I think that everyone's aware of that concern, and most people that I've talked to have taken steps to actually make sure that they're not conflicted by, selling their exposure or otherwise making sure they're disinterested. I know there's been a lot of conversation about that. I think a lot of people in the administration are joining because they really see an opportunity to help and put their talents in making our country and our government work better. And I'm excited to see them. They're moving incredibly fast, but I think it's necessary.